And we are live. Hello, everybody. Good morning. Good start. Good morning, good afternoon. Happy time zones wherever you might be. I'm Emma, and welcome to the House of Hubris, here on twitch.tv/Saracent. And welcome, delicious friends, to Mask of the Rose, at long last. I know I said I was going to do it last time, and then was defeated by the existence of clocks. So this isn't quite a release day stream, but, I mean, it came out literally 2 days ago, just after my last stream. I've been excited about this for a long time. If you remember Sunless Skies, back when we did that, same people, same universe. This is set significantly earlier in the Fallen London timeline. Like, I believe it's set after and just, like, around and just after London's fall. And yeah, I've tried to avoid spoilers as much as I can. It's a visual novel type of thing. There will be a mystery to solve. Sounds like very much our kind of thing, but I'm hype. I've played all the Fallen London games extensively, so looking forward to this no end. Before we get going, shout out to the people at Fail Better Games who helpfully provided this copy of the game. Thanks for that. I mean, I did back the Kickstarter anyway, but thanks for that, I guess. Yeah. Should we just get going? I think we should just get going. We click play. Your first foray into Mask of the Rose is unlikely to end as happily as you might hope. Never mind. Savour your successes, delight in your disasters. Try again. Wiser in the ways of beneath. The city is thick with secrets, but they can't hide from you. I turned auto-advanced text off, but apparently that bit of text didn't care. Yes, apparently this really rewards multiple playthroughs. I don't know if we'll be doing that on here, but we shall see. And hey, if you don't know any of the Fallen London games, I hear this stands alone one, so let's see. In February 1862, with no warning at all, London fell through the surface of the earth. Straight in there. This was meant to be a year of progress and industry, with a great exposition, trams, a new sewer system. Instead, we find ourselves dwelling in a cave. It's October now. The fires have been put out, the bodies have been buried. But the future remains unimaginable, the time before impossibly distant. I mean, that's just what life feels like these days. Straight into character creation. Who were we? So we have options. Dock worker's child. My father worked at the docks unloading ships. My uncle was a sailor. We were on the right side of the law, but the same couldn't always be said for our friends. Child of the gentry. My family had an estate. Oh, and there was actually more text there. Docks were allied with the working class and criminals. So the gentry. My family had an estate on the surface. My father was a magistrate. All of that is unreachable now, of course. I had the bad fortune to be in London during the fall, and now there's no going back. I do have a few connections here. Hobnob in high society and with the constabulary, let's not be a cop. A tailor. My family kept a tailoring shop with aspirations. We dress our customers better than we dress ourselves. Shopkeepers have contacts with society, but their own origins are more humble. We also have some contacts among the artistically inclined. Could be interesting. A housebreaker's child. My father was a housebreaker, his father was a highwayman. We came down in the world, no longer doing our crimes on horseback, and then my father was arrested. Must complete the game in order to unlock this for future playthroughs. Ooh. Nice. It really does reward extra stuff. An undertaker. My family were undertakers. We knew everything there was to know about procuring hearses, hiring mourners, and dressing a body. Can't do that either. An arcane academic. Studied esoteric writings, the hierarchies of spirits, the languages of angels, the practical powers of creation. Wow. Game, why would you not let me pick this first? Because this is my whole deal. Right, so our options are dock worker, gentry, or tailor. Do we want to be aligned with artists, the working classes, or the cops? Let's be a tailor. We can basically... This is just going to be Howl's Moving Castle fanfic. That's me. Down here, your name is whatever you say it is. Often there's no one left to remember who you used to be. The Neath said trans rights. Some people hold tight to the names they carried before, some reinvent themselves completely. How should people address me? We have a choice of forms of address. Comrade, Captain, Lieutenant, Doctor, Professor, Officer, Secretary, Brother, Sister, Reverend, Intendant, which I seem to remember was an option in Sunless Skies as well, and I still don't entirely know what it means. Monsieur, Madame, Mademoiselle, Miss, Mad, Sir, Lord, Lady, Citizen. There are so many good options. I'm good with Miss. And let's go with Sarah, as usual. That suits me. Or do we want to go with Mademoiselle? Nah, let's just stick with this. Join the Kickstarter for this game. So excited to play it, but you have to work. You hope I like it. You need to get hyped. Well, I expect to like it. I was also in the Kickstarter. Yeah. Have good work. Beware mutated zombies, which is your username and not an instruction, although, you know, both. And yeah. Have good work, and then the VOD will be there if you want it. I am looking forward to this no end. That's me. Sarah to my friends, Miss to strangers. That's how I was addressed before London Fell. I'm a different person down here than I was above, or down here I'm finally able to use the name that always fit me. They give you so many trans options and I can't not go for them. You know how it is sometimes. Your city falls through the earth and you just go, right, transition? Cool. I mean, to be fair, again, lockdown vibes, because so many people came out of lockdown with different names and pronouns than they went in with. And you know what? That's rad. Speaking of rad, I like your hair. This has a very strong trans femme vibe, or is that just me? And am I just saying that because it basically looks like my hair? I like the range of cameos, though. Let's go with this. That's me. In the Neath, a true ally means everything. When I find people to be close to, I'm open to... Ah, yes, and this is another thing they did hype, is that you've got ace and aro options as well. So there is dating in this game, but it can also be strictly physical, strictly platonic. So, yes, the choice between friendship, romance, and physical intimacy. But you know, given that I'm basically playing as me, I'm open to whatever. As we all know, as has been my downfall in basically every game I've played, I'm open to whatever. I'll be looking for both romantic feelings and a physical connection. Friendship and matchmaking are possible too, of course. Yep, so Miss Sarah, look like that, a tailor, and desires passionate romance. As indeed I do. This game is going to have a lot of words in it, I can feel it. Right now I'm meant to be helping with the census, finding out who still lives in my neighbourhood. The first census results are due tomorrow. If I turn them in, I get paid, the first money to come my way in nearly 2 months. If I don't, I'm going to disappoint Greers badly. She knew I was in trouble, so she went out of her way to find me work with her own employers. She even gave me a badge to show my affiliation, and you know it's not real until you have a badge, says the woman who regularly wears a jacket with 300 badges on it. New item, badge of the Ministry of Accounting and Recounting. The front looks almost like a constable's badge with the lion and unicorn blazoned on it. Back of the badge has some kind of symbol I don't recognise. Hot to the touch. Yeah, symbols that are eldritch and hot to the touch always goes so well in Fallen London games. Just get that correspondence sigil and wear it on your chest and nothing bad will happen. I keep it with the clothes I have from before the fall, and a few odd items I found more recently. I can change my outfit. Ooh. Yes, because this is a whole thing in this as well. I believe that, like, your clothes will have mechanical effects because people will react to what you're wearing as they do in reality. Ah, see, you get outfit notes. Not a very sophisticated look, not much of a look at all. So we have no hats, going bareheaded. It is a bit chilly in this cave. No face things, barefaced, good for the complexion. On our lapel, we can wear nothing. One might not want to declare any particular affiliation. The badge, or a fake but vibrant corsage. The most obvious thing about this flower is that it is extremely fake. Perfect for going out in the town, boasting and gallivanting. Well, that sounds like a thing for later. Right now, we're on official business. Hard to miss the badge, makes it unambiguous where my loyalties are. And our torso, coatless, what I'm already wearing will do, or we can wear our tailor's apron. Speaks to a shopkeeper's life, helpful, cooperative, but with a gift for invention and a true appreciation of craft. That sounds nice. I like that. Combination of badge and apron, I look like as though I'm distributing food on behalf of the ministry. Do I want to look like that? We'll see. I want to see what effects things have. Or do I want to wear work clothes? I don't know. No, I don't want people to think we have food. Because we, as far as I know, very much don't. I know you. You're on the Steam page. She's like the cover face of the game. Grizz. I thought you were up here. She glanced at the badge I'm wearing. I suppose I should be glad you're thinking about the census, even if you didn't get around to leaving the house. I react to that the way I react to many things these days. Do we turn it into a joke? Do we dare to name the frightening things out there, or do we lie? As we slow zoom on this one, I think we should dare to name the frightening things out there. I'm not sure what I'll meet out there. Not everything outside is human? Rumors. Don't let a few odd things in broadsheets frighten you. Come tomorrow evening, we need to have at least a few census forms filled out. Or I'm going to be the one explaining to Mr. Pages. And if that happens, I'm not going to help you with your employment prospects again. Grizz works for the Ministry of Accounting and Recounting. It seems to agree with her. She wears trousers to work and comes home at all hours. Because again, the fall happened, instant liberation for all, right? That's how it works. It's very important to her being taken seriously by these employers. The next thing I do is characteristic too. Offer encouragement, however bleak the situation. Confront her with her own mistakes. Be open and build trust, or rely on dark humour. I mean, I feel like it's very me and goes with daring to name the frightening things out there that just dark jokes all the time. Did your employers say whether I should also interview the Squid Face Man? Or are they not included in the census? I believe they were invented by the newspapers, but if you happen to meet with any, by all means record their names. What about the Talking Crows? Consider yourself at liberty to include any creature capable of telling you its name or occupation. What do you think of the questions? They're written in the most peculiar spiked handwriting, and there are punctures in the paper in random spots. Tease her as though I think that's her handwriting, jokingly defend my ability to read, or ask what's with the holes. What's with holes? Why does this page look like this? Do your employers know how to use a pen? Of course. Here, try the questions on me. Say you've just knocked on the door and I've come to answer it. Wow, she's getting more American the longer I talk. Yes? What do you want? I introduce myself as an agent of the Ministry, show my badge, which has the badge icon, so presumably I can only do that because I have the badge. Good evening. On behalf of the Ministry of Accounting and Recounting, I have a few questions. Oh, how lovely. I'm so grateful these ministries are looking out for us. Straightforwardly accept her performance, accept sarcastically, flirtatiously riff on how excellent the ministry is, or just read the first question. We're in customer service mode, let's not flirt, let's just go with it. This is not too hard. Go on then, what's the first question? Okay, first question. How many people live in this establishmentation? Is that a word? Establishmentation? My superiors are enthusiastic embellishers of the language. If you like, you can translate into questions that are more likely to be understood. Right. How many people live in this establishment? 4. Landlady, Mrs. Horatia Chapman, a young man named Archibald Reed, myself, and a 4th character, very disreputable. Hey! And we were like, we know, but hey. Suggests she might not be the picture of respectability. I mean, she's sassing us, let's sass back. Oh, disreputable is it? Well, you, of course, are very respectable, conventional even. If London had more sensible conventions, especially for female persons, I would be highly conventional. Yeah, just if the conventions were better, I'd go with them, which is very valid. Sometimes I'm in the mood to keep chatting, and sometimes I want to get to the point. Keep chatting. More words. Is anyone in this establishment enamorificated or impassionate? What does this even mean? They're asking if anyone here is in love. Just ask that. Is anyone here in love? No. Ask whether she tease her, ask whether she's sure about herself, or ask whether she's sure about Horatia Chapman. Yeah, what about the landlady? What about Mrs. Chapman? I wouldn't assume that she's too old for such feelings. I hadn't considered that. Grizz is always telling people not to make assumptions. She hates to be caught making those assumptions herself. Good practice. At this moment, a second visitor walks in. Archie is a medical student. He hadn't finished his training before the fall, but he has plenty of work now. Right after the fall, it was broken bones and cuts. Lately, there are fewer wounds and more diseases. I wondered where you were. Already, the game is asking me to do a Scottish accent, and I'm bad at that. Point out he could knock and greet flirtatiously. Wow, it's available for everything. Or, guess why you're here. Now, I like people knocking, I'll be real. You could have knocked. I'm sorry, Sarah, but something has happened. Out I went this morning to visit a patient. What do I find pasted up on the wall? He holds up a broadsheet. There's a new decree from the Ministry of Cartography and Chirography that all maps and atlases are to be surrendered, put on the fire. It's your folk making these rules, Grizz. Seriously, I cannot do a Scottish accent for the life of me. Take Archie's side, suggest Archie leave it alone, or stay out of it. I mean, I'm generally against book burning, hot take. Yep, what is happening, Grizz? What's this about? Will you be asking your Mr. Pages about these maps? One must respect the law. None of us knows what's safe here down in the Neath. Most likely there are reasons you can't imagine. Sarah, please do collect at least a few census forms by tomorrow, from whatever Londoners you're able to find. At the end of the day, I'll find you and we can take them to Mr. Page's together. New goal, deliver a filled census form to Mr. Page's. Every time you try Scottish, it eventually turns into Cockney. Mine usually turns from bad Scottish into slightly less bad Northern Irish. Or nowhere in the world. Sometimes generically kind of Northern England. But yeah, it's not an accent I can reliably do. Do you know what I miss the most? Back home, my sister's hair turned colour when it rained. Blonde to a wet plastered brown. Yeah, that's us going Irish already. Like a mad hen she looked. How's he feeling? How are you holding up? Worse than Grizz, I will nae lie. Seems there's no road out here. Food from the masters is a wee reprieve, but when you think of all else that might kill us below, scurvy and the like. Oh, there's a Welsh there. Seriously. A great hulking rock fell on a house in Southwark. Did the roof in and it killed the whole household. But I'd best be quiet. Like to give you nightmares too. I'm fair out of laudanum to help with sleep. Okay, but would you like to fill a census form? I have so many forms. Grizz has me gathering census pages for the ministry. Aye, Grizz told me it was some such thing. Ask about romantic commitments, show some doubt with my badge, question mark, or use it as a chance to flirt. Let's not flirt with this man, because, frankly, my Scottish accent is so bad. What's the doubt? Are you truly free of romantic commitments from before the fall? You've never befriended an especially promising patient? No, because that's ethically questionable. Me? You must have had your share of opportunities. Down here, there's no one. What about before February? There was a lass back home, and what did my mother do but promise me to her? Suggest you might prefer a more local alternative, or say nothing? I mean, we're going to be down here for a while, spoilers. Sounds a long way to go to be finding a bride. Maybe there's someone better suited here in London. Well, I never had much nerve for courting. Might be no one down here would take a fancy to me anyhow. Yeah, that's massively going Irish, come on. Scottish exists. The question has stirred recollections he's not considered for a time. Is it bad to say I've not much thought of her since? She has very even teeth. My mother says overlapping teeth in a woman mean defiance, and gaps mean a light skirt. Weirdly judgy from your mother. Joke a little at her expense? Laugh or offer possibly unwelcome views on his mother. Just a thought, guys. If you're ever offered the dialogue option, offer possibly unwelcome views on his mother, maybe don't take it, unless you want to get in a fight. But she does sound weirdly judgy. And this girl had the dentition of a nun. Aye, and a smooth round scalp like a billiard ball to frustrate any phrenologist that might be going by. You're thinking I'm well out of it, but there was no harm in her. Scottish. And I'd take a dull good wife if she came with a wee plot of land and an open sky. No, every time I try and get more Scottish, it's getting more Irish. I'm sorry, Archie, you may have migrated. Flirt, ask about work, finish the conversation. Oh, work. Sure. Simply ask. Show some doubt. What am I doubting? What, like, are you really a doctor? Sure. I've heard curious things about medical students from Scotland. You wouldn't be paying your bills with a bit of resurrection, would you? You can't just ask if someone's a grave robber. Nay, that was Edinburgh. It's long past any road. It's criminals that be dissecting now. You don't perform any less legal services, procure any substances that aren't supposed to be procured. You can't just ask people if they're a drug dealer. I did sell off a couple of my old atlases just today. Sensor maps sell for a good price if you know the right buyer. Ferret's vermin eradication takes in more than just rats. I had met the like of you in Scotland. I might never have come to London. Encourage, overtly discourage, or decide to halt. Like I say, I'm not necessarily feeling Archie. An unexpected sentiment. Oh, I didn't mean to put you in a spot. We have to face each other at the table every night. Maybe you don't want another lodger eyeing you there. Oh, yeah, that would be awkward and weird. And also, first can you decide what country you're from? I keep track of everything in my journal. What conversations I've had, the plans I've made, how I'm feeling about other people. Review the day? Let's do that. 259 days since the fall, the season of confessions. No money, 1 census page, it is evening. I've got to deliver a filled census form to pages, do more interviews if I have time, then wait for Grizz. Our acquaintances. Chapman's boarding house on Thrall Street. A relationship with my darkly witty self. Woof. That's... yeah, accurate. 124 days before the fall, moved into Chapman's. 40 days after the fall, in chaos, began to use my true name, because, really, when you have the chance. And day 220, Season of Confessions, asked Grizz to help me find work. So that was, what, just over a month ago. Archibald Reed, seller of contraband goods to finance his medical charity. I mean, you say that, it's a couple of atlases. Boards with Horatia, Mum has a nice girl back home, all things we've just learnt. Fellow lodger, our relationship simmers pleasantly. Perhaps it could become something more. Known Archie since shortly before the fall. Finished taking the census. That was all today. Griselda Smith. Clerk at the ministry, boards with Horatia, romantic interests. A distracting fellow lodger. We survived the fall together, that's a sort of bond. 15 days before the fall, she moved into Chapman's. She wore gowns back then. But again, no rules means no gender norms. Came to ask about my progress on the census. I've made no progress. Harjit, we haven't met him. He's a cop. The one to ask whenever I get lost or think I might be going to get lost. Day 0, mid-apocalypse. I first remember him from the night of the fall when he was patrolling the neighbourhood. And Horatia herself keeps Chapman's and all its lodgers. I still owe her back rent. 124 days before the fall, I moved into Horatia. She gave me a good room and a stern speech about conduct in her house. Then we lived through the fall in Horatia's basement. She's looked after all her lodgers ever since. Oh, and we have a full list of all our conversations and where they were. That's neat. Like I say, feels like this game gonna have so many words in it. 260 days since the fall. 6 days remain in the Season of Confessions. Season of Confessions, when does that happen? Is that Hallowmas? Yeah. Wait, yeah, they've already said this is like October, right? The newspapers aren't what they used to be, but someone's still printing broadsheets these days. Archie bought one, and the headlines read, Marchioness accused of liaisons with squid-faced men. Rumours of octopod heir to the Marquisate. That's reporting, I guess. And the sad thing is, that's quite possibly true. Recall the past, relive the fall of London, this will not cause time to pass. That sounds exciting. I'm always reliving London's last night on the surface. Well, yeah, because this is the kind of thing that would just give you PTSD for days. I tried to put it out of my head, but it's still there. The dimming of the sun at 3 in the afternoon. The sky turning the colour of rust. The horrible bang and cloud of dust from the direction of Westminster. The tolling of the bells. The horseman who rode down the street, liveried in the garb of the palace, shouting, "In Her Majesty's name, go indoors!" And then, the sky was full of bats, more bats than I thought could exist in the world. Wheeling, shrieking, defecating. Get a good price for that. People went indoors then, if they'd ignored the criers. Those that had no house crowded into churches and under the bridges. Even now, I don't understand why Parliament collapsed, how Her Majesty knew to send criers, or that so many bats could exist. Well, the answer to how many bats are there is no more than that. Don't understand why Parliament collapsed, or how Her Majesty knew to send criers. Well, I, the player, know how Her Majesty knew. I don't want to give too many spoilers about the kind of grander Fallen London lore, although, like, it's all there on the internet for free. Especially if we're going to investigate this. Let's talk about Parliament. But yeah, spoilers, Her Majesty was involved. Because of course she was, because this is the British establishment. The building that was Parliament is now drowned in the Thames. No one alive can give a good account of it. Oh yeah, it's the House of Chimes now. I'm going to be connecting this to things in other Fallen London games all the time, sorry. Oh, I thought we'd have more. Okay. Oh. I reckon it's a tornado. Heard of something similar in the Welsh Hills back to 1760. No light in the sky and a noise like a thunderclap. That's no tornado, love, it's a plague of Egypt. It's Horatia, our landlady. Let them talk, intervened before they annoyed one another, or sent a pleading look at Greece. Let them talk, this doesn't seem too bad. I've seen tornadoes. They come and then they move right on again. And they aren't made of bats. She makes a good point. They say the tornado scattered livestock every which way. Sheep on rooftops and all that. Then the ground shook again. Sheep on rooftops are one thing, millions of bats are quite another. I believe we can blame Mr. Bazalget's excavations, digging about under London, causing a seismic disturbance. I'm not convinced, but sure. And what did he find down there but a cave of 3 million bats? Is that what you reckon? There are stranger things beneath London. There certainly will be. That was the beginning of it, but we were down there for hours and hours. The sky darkened and it didn't return to normal. Once around midnight, Grizz went upstairs and opened the door to the street. She came right back down again. She said the cobbles were galloping about. It wasn't safe to walk outside. After that first bit, the memories collide and get confused. I have trouble keeping track of which came first and which came later, and whether I'm imagining something. Because again, PTSD for days! Achievement unlocked, Catabasis. Yep, you're not wrong. I've spent a lot of days like this, thinking back, trying to piece together the bits of the puzzle. As if I could realise something that would make sense of it all. So I imagine we will be going back to those memories later on. Adjusting my current outfit will also not cause time to pass. Past? Pass. Yeah, I don't have any of those. You know that. I could change into my apron. Sure. Let's go outside in work clothes. Time will pass as you explore the city. Well, that's literally all we can do, so. Oh, here's our map of London. So we're up in the northeast, so what's around there, like? That far from the river. Like Spitalfields? My geography is bad. So we have Thrall Street and we have the boarding house. So we have exclamation marks on both of them, and, like, I presume a possible romance option in the boarding house. So let's continue doing our census at home. Now let's go outside. Surely these are the same streets that were always here? I'm not convinced. Let's take the census with Harjit. It's worth it to be mindful of how others will perceive me. What role I play, what I can and cannot say is constrained by my clothes. This is sadly true. This was true before the fall, but it's even truer now. Names, identities, and relationships have all become so unsteady and unreliable. Harjit admires duty, but he does not always care for the ministry. It's hard to say what impression the badge makes on him. Should we change? Fine, let's take the badge off. But let's do this census informally. Makes it look like I should be behind a counter? Sure. Consider what impression this will make on Harjit. I'm satisfied with this. The streets outside Mrs. Chapman's are not easy. Thanks to my family history, I do know where to find the nearest market that specialises in clothing. Excellent. New location discovered. Hogslain Market. Likely a corruption of Hogs Lane, but I keep my pet pig on a leash all the same. Whenever I need to find more of them, it's Harjit who helps me. How does this man sound? I have something for you if you want it. He produces a nearly new Admiral's hat in perfectly good condition. Yeah! I found it near the docks. No sign of the owner, and I can't wear it myself. I thought someone of Mrs. Chapman's might get use out of it. Perhaps Lady Griselda. Sure, or trimmed with gold braid, it makes a person look like a respectable representative of the Navy. Don't know why I said it like that. Wearing it gives me a commanding, if slightly curmudgeonly presence. Clothes make an impression on other people when I wear them. They make an impression on me, too. Sometimes I'm inspired to say things I wouldn't otherwise. Clothes are important. This is not news. I have the feeling this particular hat would make me a bit rough and commanding. Well, we have no option but to put the hat on, and really, when somebody gives you a pirate hat, you have no option but to put it on. That's just how it works. Mutter ungraciously, influenced by the hat. Take the hat back off, or try on my lapel flowers. Well, why not? Always a bit of extra drama when I have this on. Thank him profusely, be dramatically ungrateful. Let's be theatrical. Thank you. What a thoughtful gift. It's so cold down here, and clothes wear out quickly. Harjit laughs. Explaining that I'm working for the census, explain apologetically about the census, or establish my authority with the census. Let's apologise for it. That we can do because we're in service mode. We're in customer service voice in our apron. I'm sorry for the interruption, but I've been sent to ask a few questions of the citizens of London. Or those who survived, at any rate. I'm not sure we're what the masters have in mind. Nonetheless, it would be a help. I see. London was determined to collect everyone's name even before the fall. Yeah, the English, am I right? It is a peculiarity of the English. You aren't the only ones ever to count your citizens. I mean, yeah, but we're very into it. What do you wish to know? Ask about the household, use it as a chance to flirt, or because I'm in drama mode, use the exact wording of the original census question. We are doing this. How many people live in your establishmentation? Harjit lets out a surprised laugh. Well, I live alone for the moment. I recognise an evasion. Harjit's not the kind of person who would tell me bluntly to mind my own business. But he won't say more than he thinks I have reason to know. Still, that is enough information for the purposes of the census. Again, exact wording. Are you enamorificated or impassionated? Harjit, let's have to start love. In love. I have met matchmakers before, but not in London. Are all practitioners here equally unsubtle? Invent a fabulous tale of my reliability in all matters. Demand he tell me. I'll stand closer and ask again. No, we are perfectly reliable. Everything is fine forever. Oh, before Judgment Day, I had the honour to wait upon members of the royal family. Oh. I've seen very odd things and kept my own counsel about them all. This is not a matter I would explain to most people. You and I have known one another for some time, however. I think you would hear me out kindly, but if you would rather not carry my secrets... No, I would absolutely carry your secrets. Assure him I will keep his confidence, decline from a dislike of secrets, decline unless the ministry learn too much. Well, we don't have to write it down! Ooh, but this is all confidential. I believe I know what's expected in these situations. Even before the fall, I would not have married. My companion was not a lady. He was an officer who came to the Punjab. We became acquainted and then more than acquainted. I thought he and I would remain together throughout our lives. I followed him here, away from my own country and everything I knew, to the home of my former enemies. He promised me that it was worth the sacrifice. He said we would never be separated. You will observe that he isn't here. Pungently condemn, change the subject with a bit of truly morbid humour. Or distract Harjit with a joke. All of these seem like bad reactions. So I will go with my trademark reaction. I see. I wait 2 beats. Comedic timing. Then I tell the one about the autophagic baby. Excuse me? Just said casually, like that's one people know. No one speaks for a moment. Great, that was wildly inappropriate. Good job, Az. I look for Lucian everywhere I go. More truly morbid humour, or distract with joke, wipe tears from my own eyes. That just sounds like I'm mocking him. I kind of would be. Let's do a not truly morbid joke. I nod sympathetically. I allow an appropriate interval to pass. Then I tell the one about the tentacled cat. Jesus Christ. He's trying to open up to us. Stop just telling weird jokes. Harjit holds out a tiny photograph, the sort that might be given to a mother or a sweetheart when a man goes to war. The sitter has tremendous sideburns and moustaches both luxuriant and curly. Definite brows, a broad forehead of the kind usually associated with intellect if you buy into phrenology, which you shouldn't because it's literally built on racism. And a sensitivity around the eyes, suggesting someone at once dashing and prone to long consideration. Have nothing to do with this. Tell him truthfully that I recognise the photo, or say nothing until I've had a chance to wrap my memories. This sounds very interesting. I've seen him. Sometime, I don't remember where. I saw him in the sunlight, though. So it must have been before the fall. If you remember anything more, or if you see him, please tell me. Help Harjit find his lost beloved. Yes. I mean, on the one hand, ACAB, but on the other hand, we'd stand queer Victorians. Flirt with him? Maybe not, given all of the gay. Ask what he thinks of London, how the neighbourhood is doing, ask him about new places to go. How's the neighbourhood doing? All well on the streets? Every day I can walk a little further without getting lost, but sometimes I lose a place again. You remember the second-hand clothes man who used to be around the corner? Reminisce about finding familiar garments there, admit I'd forgotten, or just say, yeah. Just, yeah. At first I thought the shop was destroyed, but it's moved 2 streets away now, the old building. Ask how that's possible, calmly accept it, riff on the amusing implications, or consider the alarming results. Riff, this is me. This could improve on the tram service. All the passengers enter the shop, it moves across London, everyone out. It's only gone a couple of blocks in all the months since the fall. It may need a more regular schedule. Time I continued my rounds. With my regards to Mrs. Chapman, my friend, I assumed I would have been able to ask more things. Decide to court Harjot. Only have platonic intentions. We should be friends. Consider whether there's more to know. My own opinion, there's always more to know. He has his own purpose walking the streets. Perhaps it's worth discovering how he spends his time. Okay, didn't realise that was the stalk option. New goal, find out where Harjot's going. That leaves time for one more errand today before supper. Let's go badge. Not the apron. Sometimes the accessories precede the rest of the outfit. Sure, let's go with that. So we can go to Hogslane Market. Wall Street of the boarding house. Can I see what the options are? Yes, so I can see whether Horatio needs anything, take the census with Horatio, see whether Archie needs anything. Look for census-filling shoppers, or look into what they're selling. Wall Street. See whether Harjot needs anything, ask him to show me a route, or trail him incognito. Not with this hat he literally just gave me on. Let's go and do some market research. Time is it? Oh wow. It's hard to guess what outfit will best go over in this environment. Yeah, let's go with that. Maybe we should go in the apron. I don't know. Given it's the market. Although, if we're trying to get shoppers on our side rather than shopkeepers, depends how people think of service employees. You're looking well. The badge makes clear that I'm here for business, not for conversation. Explain that I'm working, establish my authority, or say I have questions. Let's go with the official. The Ministry of Accounting and Recounting have asked me to work on the census. The lady looks faintly mutinous. Ask her full name, flirt, or ask for the census. This is for the record. What should I put on the census as your full name? It's Phoebe Riley. Irish, as you might guess. There you go, now she is. Now, thank you, game, for giving me an idea of an accent. It will still be bad. Phoebe was my father's idea. So I'm told. He was a schoolmaster on his better days. Ask how she came to be here. Don't pry. I'm taking a census. I'm literally being paid to pry. How did she come to be here, then? The same way as most of us that left in the bad times. Took ship to Liverpool first, and did what work I could get there. And then when I'd saved up and learned a little, came to London to look for a better fortune. Okay, household arrangements. What sort of household are you in? For a few years now, I've been a maid in the household of David Landau and his sister Rachel. Before the fall, there were more of us working there, as you might expect. With things as they are, I'm having to do more of the work. It's not a house meant for one servant, I can tell you that. – '– – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – I just want to click pungently condemn once. What a despicable character. Reprehensible. Wow. Yeah, we are going hard immediately. It's not so much his fault. Only they do think we should keep the house as we kept it before. Unquestionably a low-born snake. Ask for Census. What should I put down about your romantic attachments? For the Census, that is. I'm not married. It's not easy when you're in service. The household might not like you having gentlemen callers. There's a short silence. Flirt, finish, flirt, finish. Let's just go for a quick flirt first. Let's see how much game we have. You're the liveliest thing I've seen in the Neath. We don't have that much game. It's like a breath of fresh air just being around you. You're very kind. That was it. Cool, yeah, we absolutely do not have game. My business is done. I should take myself off. At this point, I go back to Horatius. Change clothes before dinner, go straight to... Yeah, let's take off the badge at least. Let's go with drama for dinner. Yeah. Although we should maybe I've taken our hat off for the table. Oh well. Grizz is waiting for me. Whatever census forms you have ready, it's time to take them to Mr. Page's. But food? Now? I'm famished. Mr. Page's has been expecting these all day. Okay, well, have fun, but when we chase the zombies. Thank you for the luck with the accents. They will all probably be bad. He is eager to see what you've made of the collection. Once I've shown you how to reach the ministry, you can come back on your own and turn in others. Grizz has me gather my papers. With luck, Mr. Page's will decide to keep you on. With that, she leads me outside and down a side street that is no longer named. That would be concerning to me, that things can just stop being named. Not that, like, the signs have gone or something, just that it no longer has a name. I mean, many things about the situation would concern me, to be fair. The way to the bazaar is much longer than a straight line. First left, then right, then back, again and again. Like trimming an evening gown, it's going to a bother for the bother's own sake. I do not ask Grizz whether the masters require us to approach this way, or whether it's her own virtuosic embellishment. And we're talking like Mr. Page's. Finally, we find ourselves standing in its shadow, under its walls. Before us is a low door that once, I think, belonged to a solicitor's office. In many ways it still does. Grizz takes out a key made of something other than metal and unlocks that door. Mind the pile of papers, I've already sorted them 3 times. Mr. Page's is very particular about the ordering of documents. Now, where has he gone? Usually he's here by this time of day. Ah, there you are, sir. We were just coming to bring you the census documents. Getting this angle on Master, this is more than we don't normally see. Our first installment of many, I'm sure. There is a tone in her voice, somewhere between fondness and a nanny guiding an untutored child. Do not ignore this mood. I watch her curiously. She doesn't meet my eye. Does she have feelings towards it? Affection? Regard for a very strange and demanding pet? Or is it something more heartfelt? Mr. Page's, may I present Sarah? Sarah, this is Mr. Page's. The whole Ministry of Accounting and Recounting is under Mr. Page's directions. Acknowledge, express gratitude for the job, or stand well back and make no sudden moves. Let's acknowledge it at least. How do you do?
Fertilus with a soupçon of metulence.
Mr. Pages has a surprisingly high voice for someone so large. I beg your pardon? Mr. Pages has been interviewing a Frenchman unhappily stranded on our shores before the war. You can imagine how that might affect both mind and vocabulary. Yeah, but how hard was it for the Frenchman? Are you saying that the Frenchman suffered from an interview with Mr. Pages? Wow, we just turned straight into sassing our boss, didn't we? The fall was a shock. We've written down the particulars of his situation. I'm sure the Ministry will do whatever it can to assist him.
What have you brought us?
Well, I think what we have brought him is an advert break. We will turn in our forms in a few minutes. I need to go and run some ads and get some water and stretch my legs. I would recommend all of you also do the self-care things. Get some water, have a snack, get up, move around, take your meds if you still need to. Give somebody a hug if you want to and they're cool with it. And yeah, let the ads run if you can. I will be back in about 3 when we will continue with this. Adios, see you. And we're back. Hello everyone. Yes, let's start handing over these things. I imagine if we hand them over one at a time we'll get to talk about them, so here's Archie's page.
Ah, most satisfactory. There are secrets here.
Gives me 2 shiny pennies for my trouble. I turn one over and it has a portrait on the back of someone who is certainly not the Queen. The face on the back of the coin stares at me until a hair prickles on my neck. The coin reminds me of a debt owed. I don't want to remember. And my breath hitches and slows and resumes. I'm holding 2 pennies now. Wow, just like again, I'm trying to destroy my own streaming studio. That's fun. Hide my shame. Nobody saw anything. Yeah, again, I'm my brain is always going hard on Fallen London lore, and so are these just kind of regular pennies that make up echoes, and they've always been creepy and cursed, and it's just never been mentioned before because by the other games everybody's fine with that? Are these justificant coins? 5 pages with 7 census forms. Oh, we got work to do.
We did not expect much from Archie. Undercon Grizz having already revelated that he is a lightless character. What else is there?
Harjot. Pages offers me 2 pennies from a jar, bringing my stash to 4. There are other coins in there. And a few things that aren't even coins. Buttons, pearls, probably false. A horse head carved from ivory or bone.
The quality of your information impresses us this time. Can we say that the story is finished? While the lover has not returned, another chaptering is imaginable.
What happened to not writing it down?
Do you have anything more?
Yes. I met this woman. Mr. Pages takes the census page eagerly and spends some time scanning it. Whatever it finds, it considers impressive enough to offer us 2 pennies. But it is, I think, disappointed all the same. There's something it's looking for that it cannot find.
She seems a very small person.
Charity's lady in there with the 29-month resub. Jeez, thank you so much. That's a lot of months. Yeah, welcome back to Fallen London.
More like a dog.
What a horrid thing to say.
You would not agree?
I like the genuine look of shock from Mr. Pages. No.
You do not think she is smaller than yourself?
That's not...
I will not replicate this statement in future.
Thank you, I suppose. The business of the census is done for now. Perhaps I've earned a question? Ask why maps are being outlawed, what the romance accounts are about, or finish the conversation. I mean, I know the answer to both of these as a player. The maps thing seems interesting. Why aren't we allowed to have maps and atlases anymore? We need them more than ever. London isn't arranged where it used to be. Surely that would mean the maps were less used than ever. I believe the Ministry intends to resurvey the territory. Oh, he mad. In the meantime, it wouldn't do, you know, to have people using fallacious maps.
The territory of the Neath is anti-dispacificated toward lying still.
I'm gonna nod sagely. That's enough of my official duties for the moment. The Master of the Bazaar is annoyed at me. Let's not press him further. Grizz accompanies me out again when it's time to go. She makes a couple of remarks about how useful this will be, though she stops short of asking whether I'm in debt to Horatia. I haven't forgotten, though. Hey, Horatia, half my back rent. Not all of it. You know, who would do that? Well, this time we have 5 pence. I mean, we have that money. We recall past to work out where we saw Harjit's boyfriend, wear a disguise and trail him. So we don't have a disguise currently. Interview people. Give Horatia her money. As we make our way back to Horatia's, Grizz asks me what I think of Mr. Pages. She tries to make it sound like an idly curious question, but she literally works for the Census Bureau, so, Flatteringly commit to more work, thank her for arranging this post, or make light of his tailoring challenges. That's just kind of a mean thing to do. Let's not answer. I'm grateful for the arrangement. It was very good of you to put this together. Grizz looks too distrusting for friendly gestures. Wow. Before we go back inside the house, she reminds me. We have many more people in the neighborhood to survey for the census. You know how it's done now, so you can collect them and take them to Mr. Pages yourself. I have other duties, and I may not always be there, but Pages is... Well, I'm certain you won't be harmed if you visit the Ministry on your own. Ask neutrally whether she has feelings, silently conclude she has feelings, or decide and confess that I have feelings to Mr. Pages. Like, I'm torn here, because, as you might know from having ever met me, the concept of romancing a Master of the Bazaar is interesting to me for reasons. But on the other hand, Pages? Like, I've interacted with him enough across various games to just be... Pages? Really? Like, if it was Vales or someone, I might be right in there. Let's say neutral for now. I got the impression that you have an affection for Mr. Pages. One cannot say. I can promote their connection. The sooner she recovers from this, the better, or not my business. Yes, match make. Gender non-conforming woman and bat in a robe. And if you didn't know the masters were big bats, they are. Something, I can fix them. Archie finds me upstairs after dinner. I kind of stopped thinking on the Ministry of Cartography. There's something not right there. If you'd let me show you what I'm thinking of. Point out I'm always interested in him. Watch with interest or express impatience. Just watch. Sorry. We are fully in hay fever season. Exciting times. Please be my guest. You'll see what I have in mind in a moment. It's a way of sorting out my thoughts. When I started, it was to think through a treatment. That is good for all sorts. Stories, schemes, things that might be true or things that don't have to be. While he's talking, he's getting out some bits of paper written over in his own handwriting. Watch closely, I guess. Are we just going to start corkboarding? Learn about creating a story. Welcome to story crafting. From time to time, you'll be making stories about things you discover in the Neath, because it does run on stories. Sometimes other people will ask you to bring them a story. They might want a true account, or they might want fiction. Either way, you'll come here to create the story they want. This is a slot. Slots contain the elements of your story. This is a who slot, meaning contain a character featured in the story. So let's go slot to continue. Sure. Yes. Thank you for the hydrate and stretch reminders. Probably a good idea. This game, as I say, many words. Because as I've seen people saying, you get Emily Short involved in a game and she does not mess around. These are all the character tokens you can currently put in the slot. As you meet more characters, you get more options. Makes sense. Select one of the tokens. I mean, what if we don't want to select Archie? Oh, we don't have to. It was just highlighting that because that was the one I had selected at the time. Let's talk about Pages. Baby. This is a story about Mr. Pages. Excellent. You can select the slot again to choose someone else if you'd like. Otherwise, let's continue. Characters in the stories you craft here can be driven by motives, and these motives spur them to act. That's how story crafting works. Tokens for actions and motives are represented by fragments of text rather than pictures. Assign a token to both motive and action before you continue. So Mr. Pages hoped for love, power, wealth, or an unknown purpose. I mean, in Matters of the Bizarre Look to Love, is the kind of standard thing. But can we say that Mr. Pages hoped for love, personally? It had an unknown purpose, driven by secret, unknown motives. Had an affair, or employed someone in plotting. Let's just start scurrilous rumours, shall we? Carried on a discreet and private affair with a lover. Well done, delicious friend. Let's continue. Not every story is a single-hander, of course. Commonly, a second character will feature as a friend, an enemy, or a victim. Select this new slot to continue. Yeah, let's just start talking about these two having an affair. The second person has to be different. Notice that that token is crossed. That makes sense. Not everybody can be one person. Carried on a discreet and private affair with its lover. Grizz. Sometimes two tokens can't be placed together because they don't make sense. More often, you can mix and match based on whatever you've learnt. You discover more variations in the course of play. This system is going to be very deep. Sometimes you'll be asked for a story where certain elements can't be changed. In that case, those slots would be locked. You can change everything else about the story, but not that piece. Grizz was afraid of Mr. Pages. And so, finally, sometimes you can put an unknown into a slot. That means you think there's another possible answer, but you need to explore the world to find out what it is. Building a story with some unknown elements gives you a hypothesis you can ask characters about. Fill this final slot to continue. Took unknown actions or obeyed? Unknown actions. Grizz was afraid of Mr. Pages, and responded by doing something we have yet to identify. New ministerial expose crafted. A question of fear. Formed a theory to ask people about. When you get a message about a story completed, that lets you know what kind of story you built. Now go and ask other characters about your idea. Whenever you're done working on a story, finished or not, you can leave the story crafting board and go and tell other characters about it. Okay, this is going to take a little bit of getting used to, I feel. You see how I'm coming at it? I'm trying to work out what Mr. Pages is about with the Ministry. It's no use asking Grizz, you've seen that. Mr. Pages, forbade mapping. And then something happened, presumably, but what? So, why do we think he forbade mapping? Hope for power? Knew the Neath changed, or had an unknown purpose? Let's take the party line. Made laws forbidding mapping because it knew that the floor of the Neath would shift anyhow, the maps would become obsolete, and citizens grow frightened. It was better to allow people to think their own memories were at fault. That's actually kind of true. The typical Londoner reacted somehow. To protect London, or was gullible? Well, what actions? Obeyed, resisted. The typical Londoner was determined to preserve London, and resisted. Pages, desperate. Rebelled against these commands whenever it was safe to do so, feeling that Mr. Pages did not mean the city well. It seemed best to create a bit of difficulty for these newcomers who acted as lords and ministers without any right. That's fair. I don't care to have things hidden from me for my own good. I'd rather know the truth of it and make up my mind what to do next. Not to mention that we need to learn the science of the Neath if we've any hope of doctoring down here. If you don't mind giving Pages all manner of stories about the people that live below, then you can go on with it. But if you'd rather another way to making your bread, this accent, I swear to Christ, I have a friend below that can take what we learn and put it about in the papers. I told them I knew someone that might be able to bring back a few secrets to the ministry. If you make up the questions you want to ask, you can investigate with anyone who might answer. Earn your pennies helping the citizens rather than those creatures in their blankets. So we can go and theorycraft about the ministry. Interesting. Suggest this is dangerous. Promise to join him. Give myself time. Let's resist the masters, you know. Search for truth. Sounds like it doesn't require outright penmanship. That makes it superior to Census work right there. Don't it just? And the truth has its own value. I'm glad to hear you say so. It's no easy thing fighting the doubts on my own. With Horatia telling me I have the fidgets, and Grizz saying I should be quiet and trust our robe-wearing masters. I shouldn't let you get your sleep. You should feel free to come and talk with me any time. My own room's not big enough to turn bad, of course. But you can find me in the parlour. Accept and plan to seduce, I accept and plan to romance, indicate my interest, but only in friendship. Make it insultingly clear I'm not interested even in friendship. Jesus God. I want to see how these mechanics work. Let's go with accept but plan to, like, seduce physically but not romance. Why not? I don't know. Might be entertaining to try and fit in yours. You say that, but we might as well play act of being eels in a jar. When I came here, Horatia had little more than a cupboard free for new lodgers. You've got more or less your own palace. And then we went into soft focus all of a sudden, and I had an episode. I don't know. Go straight to sleep, review the day. Alright, that was just the end of scene. Okay, yeah, we know what we're doing. And we now have pages for pages. Made the acquaintance of Mr. Pages. It is very tall. Phoebe Riley, skeptical census filler, and Rachel Landau. We know each other only by repute. Right, that's, yeah, employs Phoebe. And we have these stories. Interesting. Story crafting ideas discovered. Oh god, sold contraband. Before the fall, sought lost beloved, new Neath change, Phoebe and the bazaar. Interesting. 261 days since the fall. 5 days remain in the season of confessions. Another morning, another newspaper. Headlines today read, Renowned scientist pronounces recent events result of volcanic activity. Sun veiled in ash. I think we all wish that were true. So we can now just build stories on our own time. Right, so we have to know kind of what sort of thing we're crafting for, but Ministerial Expose. Offer Archie's stories about the Masters that might shock the ordinary Londoner. Let's just make stuff up. The typical Londoner pose no challenges and ask no questions. That is right, so that's what we're always going to deal with. It's just like, because this is what they don't want you to know. Took some action, but I'm unsure what. I need to talk to someone about this. Mr. Pages hoped for power. Hopes save London. That's interesting. Pages undecided. Mr. Pages knew that London was threatened by many monstrous things in the Neath. Took some action, but I'm unsure what. Need to ask someone about this. Typical Londoner posed no challenge and asked no questions and was the sheeple. So can I just do that as much as I want? Oh, this is ready to hand in already. Right, so I can only have one per thing. Interesting. Let's have a flashback, because we need to do that if we want to remember where we saw Lucian, for one thing. I remember the days of the fall in fragments. There are a few moments that I'm always drawn back to, memories that stand for everything else that happened. There are things I sometimes remember from that night that cannot have happened, impossible things. I concentrate. I can recall Lucian, yes. We were hired to find this man's boyfriend in our memories, and so we shall. And when I say hired, I mean we decided we were going to do it. It wasn't the night of the fall. It was a little earlier when we were still on the surface. Just a few days before. I saw a party of drunk men, most older and quite distinguished, but accompanied by a younger officer. He was the most drunk of all, but he kept talking about warning everyone. He was obsessed with some grotesque impending disaster. Gee, wonder what that could be. What disaster? Something to do with theft and darkness. Gee, wonder what that could be. I can't recall now. A conversation half overheard, half a street away. But the end is that the other men got tired of his insistences and his drunkenness. They hoisted him under his arms and carried him half-resisting into one of the houses across the street from Chapman's. That is, into a house that's no longer there. What are we wearing? Ah, yes. What if we wear our apron as well? Makes it look like I should be behind a counter. The hat belongs to someone much wealthier and more accustomed to command. No, let's just go with this for the moment. So we have the bazaar we can go to now, but there's nothing to do. Ministry officers tucked up snugly under that unexplained and very un-English tower. We can go back to the market. At the boarding house, we have so many options. We should probably pay our rent. And we can discuss our theories with people. And continue our seduction. Jesus, there's so much. We can tell Harjit what we've remembered about Lucian. Well, let's do that. Your Honour, there was a plot, but I was distracted by the gaze. You understand. Harjit likes to see me wearing his gift. You might take that as encouragement. Sure. You're looking well. Flirt mentioned the claims that London's merely wrapped in cloud and not, in fact, inside a giant cave. Or come straight to the point. Nah, let's start with what people are saying on the street. I recount the newspaper story. Scientists are claiming London is merely wrapped in an ashen cloud. Oh. The rumours of a cave roof and falling rock are dismissed as a misunderstanding. I make the story as engaging as I can, plenty of detail and a fair sprinkling of dramatic pauses, because I'm William Shatner. I find it difficult to think of the fall. Not out of distress, though I know many suffered greatly. But I find I remember it only in patches, or from a great distance, as though it happened to someone else. I express relief that the old ways are gone, move lightly to the new topic, or just drop. Nah. Embrace change. Given that I'm already canonically trans. There's a good deal we left behind above that I don't miss. Chance to change our way of doing things, if you ask me. Harjit nods along, even finishes a few of my sentences for me. There's nothing amiss at Mrs. Chapman's, is there? Nothing has happened to Archibald? Archie's family is in Scotland. Everyone says that only London fell below, but Archie's afraid that something happened to them too. Why do you ask? If I may ask, do you have feelings for Archie? Wow, even less subtly than I thought. I'm not free to look at someone new, and I don't know whether he would want that either. I don't think he would find the idea as repellent as some, but I'm not the lass his mother picked out for him. But I will say this, Archie is the most open friend I've found here. I'm right here. Not all his thoughts are things he ought to say aloud. He says them anyhow. Once I've worked out what he means under that accent, it makes me feel less alone. And where is that accent from, anyway? It doesn't sound like Scotland. If you should say anything about his feelings, please tell me. Harjit shakes his head as though to clear away some thought. So many families passed him before, so many others vanished afterwards. Perhaps they've all packed their things and gone to some other part of the city. Perhaps something more terrible has happened. Okay, but about your boyfriend. I tell Harjit the story of what I saw when Lucian was drunk. Tell me everything. Was he angry? Hurt? Did he strike anyone? Did you hear who it was he wanted to warn? I explain everything I can. Then he's beyond my help, beyond reach. Welp. You remember things I've forgotten. The building might still be there if approached rightly. Sometimes one can find one's way around the fold. But it's hard to find places I never saw in the first place. Let's not flirt with this man while we are looking for his boyfriend. Also, who is a cop. From a certain point of view, I am one of Lucian's personal effects. A thing that should not be here if he did not exist. A thing that might be edited out of the Neath in time. I think when I forget him, I will also vanish. What? I don't follow. How's that even possible? Things get lost from the Neath. I don't know why. I only know it happens. I dread the thought of being swept away. Would you cease to exist? Die? Or only go back to the surface? There are stories in the newspaper. Apocryphal or not, I don't know. Of people who after a period in the Neath found themselves walking in some sunlit field above. Maybe I would be in the Punjab again, back among my own people. They say Dalip Singh has gone back there. Right, gone back there. With London gone and the Queen fallen below, there was nothing to prevent him from returning to Lahore. Perhaps he is even now restoring our empire to its former state. I mean, this is a whole area of history, not enough things touch on how. Just generally how we ruined the Punjab. among the many, 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 many awful things the British did in the colonial era. So, you want to go back? A few months ago I wanted nothing more, but my love for Lucian was also so imperative. If the cost of my homecoming was to forget him, I'm not sure I could have brought myself to do it. Darkly sympathetic, thank him for trusting me. Thank him for trusting me so much, or thank him for trusting me. Darkly sympathetic sounds like us. What a curious way to discover what matters most. Many people have been imprisoned by their own grief. This is only particularly literal. Stop telling me to flirt with him. Let's ask him about places to go. Landau's Townhouse, Tentagram's Synagogue, St. Alban's Proto-Martyr Church, or the Menace Eradicator's shop. That's where Archie sold his atlases. This is where Phoebe works. These sound very interesting. Yeah, I want to see how a synagogue copes with this, frankly. Do you know where the synagogue is? I worked out the way to the Tentagram Synagogue. There are a lot of people in that area today. Well, thank you. So we walked together, and every few moments Harjit stopped to point out a landmark. Or draw my attention to the places where the air smells different, or the sound of church bells can be heard. Tentagram's Synagogue, an old synagogue, and one that's weathered the fall very well. And we have the concepts of pining for the surface and missing your family to plug into stories. This system is already very large. We've never met before, but I recognise these people anyway from Phoebe Riley's description. They have to be the Landaus, the brother and sister pair. I guess that is a, typically Jewish name. That makes sense. She works at their townhouse. Wait here, Rachel, or you can stand a bit to the side if you want, wherever you're comfortable. I'll speak to this person, it won't take long. Shouldn't, anyway. Good morning. Introduce myself as an acquaintance of Phoebe, say that we have some common acquaintances. Angle to impress him with lies, or present myself as strong if unfriendly. Drama, drama. My name's Sarah. Time was when my family owned everything your eye could see around here. Impressive. I explain that I'm here for the census. I don't have a badge with me, but I'm collecting census information for the Ministry of Accounting and Recounting. I see. Let's try and keep this official. Do you have any romantic commitments now? He doesn't have any commitments. In fact, I would go so far as to say he is utterly without prospects. He stays home and reads. I haven't been well. He warns me of spinsterhood, but he's headed very much in that direction himself. It isn't the same thing at all. I agree it isn't. I have my work to support myself. My sister is a famous authoress, serialized in the Lily of London, if you can believe it. But what's become of your funds since the fall? You'll have to marry if you don't mean to end your days as a pauper, brother. I'll rely on you to support me in my failing years, sister. But seriously, the question I had. I'm not flirting on official business. Are you married, in love? Oh, not recently. I was in love once or so, I imagined. Charlotte Carringham. She and David had an understanding. She converted in any case. Becoming Christian suited her social aspirations. Rachel. Yes, I take leave to dislike your unworthy suitors as heartily as you dislike mine. Milton is a yellow-eyed, flash-dressed, hot-handed creature at least 2 decades too old for my sister. Rumours of devils are frequent in the city. Perhaps Milton is one of them. I hardly think he and Charlotte are comparable. Weird devil, you say? Oh dear. The rules of polite society have broken somewhat in the fall, haven't they? Brackets complimentary. Nothing of the sort. He's a devil, or rather he belongs to the group using that name.
Milton is an artistic inspiration. If you're not a writer yourself, miss, you cannot guess how much the fall has disrupted our sort of work. Characters have certain tastes, certain preferences, certain prejudices. All I need to do is imagine them in new circumstances, and their reactions write themselves. But now, we've all been at least a little bit cracked by the fall. How does anyone behave? Who can say?
You always said you wrote from observation. You can still observe.
Since the fall, there's no pattern in what I see. It's only home that makes sense to me. I cannot make my whole novel about a brother and sister lighting candles at Shabbat.
Huge RP mood. Yep, that's how it works. Don't write characters that do things. Write characters that are people and then put them in situations and they'll do things. I mean, why not? I'm sure there are novels about that. Why not?
My publisher wouldn't tolerate it. The Lily of London wouldn't print it. The rest of the world must come into it somehow. Milton helps me sort the rest of the world. He can make sense of anything, even a viscountess running down the street in a peignoir.
It's easy to understand a misbehaving viscountess. Everything else is stranger. Let me say, Sarah, Milton smokes rose-scented cigars.
He helps me.
Support them? More gossip? Do census about her? If one side is having an affair with devils, you know I'm probably on that side. That doesn't sound so bad.
See?
Milton quotes poetry instead of making conversation. Okay, now finally you've said something that makes me not like him.
It is one of the things I like about him.
I turn my sense of curiosity on Rachel. I mean, we know the answer to this, so just ask straight up. Are you married, in love?
No, I wouldn't say that. Milton is only a friend.
Just as well, too. In the times before, you would never have darkened the door of such a person.
Subject to his life and business.
Sounds good. Oh, his. I thought we meant Milton's. Dang it. With a ready listener, David talks about the life he had before the fall and hopes to have again. It was a steady business, which presented him with challenges in which his caution and tendency to doubt were an asset. In his stories, his partners and relatives are sometimes swindled or tricked, but David himself rarely falls prey to that kind of misadventure. Oh hey, I can lie too. His arrangements appear to have been quietly successful, and I have the impression that his friends thought highly of his good sense. Weird that, when the story's coming from him. We must be going, we're already late. I'm not feeling well enough for this.
You've set loose one or two ideas, for which I certainly owe you something.
She produces a card and hands it to me. It provides her address and guidance to reach it. The Landau's townhouse, a well-appointed townhouse suffused with a homely glow from its tall windows. Home of the Landau siblings.
Goodbye, miss.
Decide to court Rachel. Only platonic intentions. We should be friends. My opinion remains to be seen. I mean, she does sound pretty great. I look at Rachel with unmistakable longing. Great! My characters can be a by disaster as well. Judging by the clock, I can afford another errand before supper. David, Rachel, Carringham's... Carringham's? Who are they? I can't remember. Fought over Milton, fought over Rachel, and Milton himself. Do I have more storyboarding slots? No. Let's lose the hat. Present myself to the world with no credential but my own confidence, and what other credential could be needed? This is the House of Hubris, always by disaster, never plan. You get it! We should probably give Archie these theories. Or we could just pay our rent. I feel like paying our rent would be a good plan. Horatio doesn't attend much to what I wear. An indifference, no doubt, born of seeing as in ill states. Cool. I find Horatio in the basement, taking inventory of our supplies. The night London fell, all Horatio's lodgers gathered in the cellar. Horatio led the hymns while we waited for dawn. Around 3 in the afternoon, we admitted to ourselves that there wasn't going to be a dawn. Today or any other day. Sarah, it's good to see you. Since the fall, we've all taken to greeting one another as invalids on the verge of death. We were having a flashback recently. I was remembering us all together the night of the fall, telling each other it was some sort of engineering accident that would be put right. Little chance of that now. Argent says the Besham's neighbours vanished overnight. They've been talking of making a run for it, just striking out north and seeing what they found. You definitely don't want to go north at this point. Wait. Yeah. Are the Prick Fingers to the north? I should know more of the layout of the Neath off the top of my head. Yeah, because it's the marshes and the bazaar to the south. Which is also bad, but perhaps less bad. And then eventually there's the Cumane Canal, which is where you want to be. Probably. Not enough to eat around here, it seems. Well, here's money. I believe I owe you something, as a matter of fact. I pass her the coins in a jingling handful. Thank you. You're a kind soul. No, I'm just paying my rent. Do I have the map, or is that Sunless Skies? The map I have a hard copy of is from Sunless Skies. That does not, I believe... well, that I think does have, like, an inset with a full map of London and its surroundings, but that is London after it went into space. The map from Sunless Sea is just all in here. Inexorably. But yes. Just in general, in the Neath, going north, usually a bad idea. That leads to bad. Going south, also leads to bad. How did I find this? I think I may have hit the mouse wheel. Being in the Neath leads to bad. I mean, there's not... At this point, there's probably not that much bad southwards, because the Dawn Machine won't have been built yet. And, oh, but will the Iron Republic has been there longer than London, so that's usually a bad time of some kind. Anyway, I'm getting distracted. She scoops the money into the pocket of her skirt. It has pockets. Discover how much more I owe her. Well, I mean, 5 was listed as half, so... I know that can't cover all my previous debts. It would be as much again. That will have to wait. I'll have to do a few more odd jobs first.
I'm glad to have this.
Finish paying the rent.
There's something I need for dinner if you'd be willing to go.
Agree flirtatiously, simply, or laugh as though the request were a joke. No, it's just... We're going to be eating it, we might as well. Why not? She rummages in a corner and returns with an assemblage of empty jars, which she piles into a bag for me.
Take them to the market and get them filled, as many as you can. Oil first, then solids, whatever they've got. Don't let them sell you more than 1 jar of cricket flour. We can use it, but we don't go through much. As for the purple mushrooms, make sure they're dead. Don't accept the live ones. Oh yeah, if they're Blenningans, that, yeah. Again, leads to bad. How will I know? If it jumps out of the jar, it's not dead.
Yeah, but proof by counterfactuals. If it doesn't jump out of the jar, it doesn't necessarily mean it is dead. The trip takes a long time. Hats, pins, mask clothes, sundry unspeakables. Wow. Half the stalls are already empty. Half of the remaining stalls are not offering anything we want. But I finish Horatius' commission in the end. Oh, well that was easy.
It occurred to me you might want the route to the church. Theophilus Withenwit would be good for the census, I'm sure. Follow Thrall Street to the place that looks like a dead end. Stand still and sing 2 verses of Pop Goes the Weasel. Then walk straight ahead and you'll find the street keeps going. Might be that another song would do as well, but for some reason that's the one I always use.
Great. St. Albans Protomartyr. Horatio has adapted well with the practicality of a proprietress. Yeah, she doesn't have time to worry about the existential implications of all of this. She's got a boarding house to run. And if you're running a Victorian boarding house, the first vibe you learn is not my problem. St. Alban was the first English martyr, a point of considerable pride to the local vicar. It's the church of our parish. Yes, proto-martyr sounds like a very dramatic kind of Fallen London thing, but I'm pretty sure that is literally just one of the epithets of St. Alban. Horatius sets the dinner soon afterward. Change before dinner? I mean, we're fine. There are a few minutes of preparation. Advertising lodging with action. God, there's so much story crafting here. I suppose you've heard the news. Assume all news is bad news. Ask or suggest it can wait until I've had stew. Yeah, what happened? Which news is that? The masters have received word from the surface. The rest of the world is also there. The remains of England, France, all the rest as it was. Only London was abstracted. There are crates and crates of mail from the world above. We're going out to London now as we speak. Joke about the likely price of stamps, comment on the masters controlling this access, or shout with glee! No, I have thoughts. It would be the masters and no one else who control the way back. I don't know what you think that signifies. Masters are the ones who know most about what is going on. Okay, maybe the wrong audience for that particular comment. Archie, did you hear? I did that!
So it's true?
I mean to get a seat on the next mail coach that goes above. I'm not sure that the mail came by coach, and it certainly did not come by train. Well, however it came, I mean to go back that road. Propose other ways, tempt his expectations, or ask how soon we can expect to be rescued. Yeah, I hate to break it. We might not be able to go back. No one said how the mail came from above.
There's more hope today than there was yesterday, love. Keep that in sight.
Look, Mr. Page has sent us all a gift. She takes out a package wrapped in brown paper and string, sets it down on the table. Inside are half a dozen fresh pork and apple sausages.
Better than Christmas, love. Thank you, Mr. Pages, for us. I'll make them up for Sunday lunch.
You know what? I'm not going to poke this bear anymore right now. Yes, thank you. And Mr. Pages. I don't suppose Mr. Pages does a line in red pudding. It is Mr. Hart who's been arranging the import of service meals. Service meats, that too. But I don't think Mr. Hart would consider a red pudding a very suitable gift.
How many masters are there, then?
I have only seen the census pages for a few of them. I know how many there are. I chew diligently. The first few days weren't bad. People had food in their pantries still. Old loaves of bread, leftover joints, roots and jams. But nothing new was coming into the markets. No new fish, no vegetables from the farms. We finished eating. But we do an excellent line in creative uses of mushrooms. Anything to review? No. Days keep on happening. 4 days remain in the season of confessions. I get the feeling that we need to do the census in the season of confessions. That would seem fitting. For once, I know just what I'll see in the paper. Contact achieved with the surface of the Earth. Travel possible via Z-route. Mail collected from above. Goes on and on like this. I spend a good part of the morning devouring the pages. There are hardly any pictures, it's too early for illustrations. Nonetheless, the paper's correspondents paint a vivid picture of the perilous travel back to the environs of Italy. See, told you want to go south. We've got time for a flashback before our next break, probably. I reach for another memory out of that jumbled grab bag. There are things I sometimes remember from that night that cannot have happened, impossible things. To concentrate, I can recall. Archie searched his book for some precedent. Constable Hargent checked on us. Grizz did say something about her family name. That sounds interesting. Grizz was eating a cold dinner. There wasn't a hot one that night. But Horatio was determined that we had to eat. Grizz and I have both been lodging at Horatia's since before the fall, but at first we didn't speak much. She kept her distance back then. She's become much friendlier since the fall. I mean, after we came out, it probably helped. Is that it? No.
No question of lighting the stove today, I'm sorry to say. I found a few things in the larder.
Those few things would be worth a fortune now. Grizz didn't look impressed, or nope, don't want to think about it anymore. The economy in shambles. She had the end of a loaf of bread, a roast joint we hadn't finished, a cheddar with the wax covering still on.
The jellied eel's barely been touched. Plenty to go around.
In fact, I think Grizz mentioned her family briefly. While we were eating, a joking reference, while the sky got darker, grim reference, or nope. Grim seemed more her style.
Are you concerned for your parents? You can visit them in the morning, perhaps?
No.
I could go with you if you want. Or Archie would escort you, I dare say. That might be better.
If the Airly townhouse were to slide sideways into the Thames, I would not be going to investigate. Grizz has got some family drama going on, which shouldn't be surprising, given that, you know, we've already had these hints of the genders going on. But this seems like a good time to take our second break. yeah, I need to get up and move around and grab some more water because Jesus is it warm. I would recommend all of you do the same things. Get up, move around, have a drink, have a snack, take your meds if you still need to. Give someone a hug if you're both cool with it. And, yeah, let the ads run. And I will see you in a few. Love you all. See you, bye. And we're back. Hello, everyone. Right. What are we going to do with the rest of our day? I say the rest of our day, this is a new day. This is a beautiful day. It is a new day. And we can zoom in and out. Neat. Specifically on this area, which is interesting. What's down here? Like, Greenwich? Let's have church. Let's take the census with Theophilus. Or should we give Archie this story? Let's do this first. I consider what impression this will make on Theophilus. If we're going to see the vicar, maybe we should be official. And a vicar is liable to appreciate our service uniform. It's all about the humility. The badge will eliminate any expectation of a social visit at any rate. Yes, let's do that. This is a really cool system. There's lots of really cool systems in this. St. Albans Protomartyr. This is the closest church to Horatius. Wow, you are a severe priest. He looks me over and he does not see a parishioner. I see the masters are meddling with affairs of the church. I suppose it was inevitable that they would turn their attention this way in time. Present myself as helpful to be gamble that he shares my sense of humour. That seems like a gamble I will lose. We're here to do a job. It's an honour to make your acquaintance. I'm Sarah. Theophilus Withenwick. It is a Yorkshire name. You can tell by how Yorkshire I sound, no. Explain that I'm working for the ministry, explain apologetically about the census. Yeah, just official. The Ministry of Accounting and Recounting have asked me to work on the census. Theophilus shows no enthusiasm for the ministry. A decree went out from Caesar Augustus that all the world should be taxed. Show the ministry's teeth, ask what he's on about, or laugh. These all seem like bad options. I laugh darkly. Okay, that's maybe the least bad. I suppose we still have a month and more before Advent. Yes, we get your point. We can just flirt with everyone. Let's be respectful. I'm sorry for prying into your affairs. Do you live alone? I live alone in the rooms provided for the vicar of this parish. There is a woman who comes twice a week to clean, or there was. Her visits have been more erratic of late. She stole several spoons and a chafing dish from me. Wow. This is the plot of Les Miserables, but just the low-stakes London version. And my second-best chasuble. Who knows what she thought to do with it. When I did not turn her off for dishonesty, she lost all respect for me. In retrospect, it was an error I thought to show mercy. Now I sleep on damp sheets. Ask a critical question in a reassuring way. What does that mean? I want to click it just to see what that means. There's no danger in these questions. Are you unmarried and unencumbered? No secret mistresses? That's the least reassuring way we could ask it. Jesus Christ! I was married. The lady was 2 or 3 years older than myself, a very sensible and capable woman. Her name was Anne. And this is going to go badly. What happened? Anne Withenwick is no longer with you? It is a sad but not unusual tale. Use my authority to bully him, imply he must be hiding something disreputable, or stand closer and ask again. These are all bad options. Just slowly edge closer to him. No, wait, no, this is going to be flirting, god damn it. I thought you were getting to trust me. We are commanded to be wise as serpents. I'll keep my own counsel, thank you. What the Christ? Something has landed on the roof. That noise happened to us all. Jesus Christ. It sees us. I'm guessing, presumably this is the Vake, if you know the setting at all. Bat. Hell of a morning, right? Make light of the danger, point out that it's far too large to be a bat, or come here often. That's gotta be the option. Is that thing a frequent visitor? No, but it has come enough times that I am familiar with its noises. It's landed there a few times before, especially when the choir is practicing. Shout at it! Suggests it's drawn to the music, say nothing until it goes away. Old man yells at Vake. Let's rationalize. Maybe it likes music? Just as well the opera has been suspended in that case. Might have carried off half of society by now. The thing up there is gone. The Tentaground synagogue's in better condition than our little church. It really is. Also, no giant bat that I'm aware of. I have wondered whether that signifies the direction of divine approval, or just more sustainable building practices. Flirt, explore his possible interest in me, ask what happened to this roof, or end combo. Well, since we're talking about architecture. What happened to the roof? Ah, that. We must assume the fabric of the building sustained significant damage in the fall. The funny thing is it held up for weeks, but shortly after Pentecost it all came down. I choose not to construe this as an intervention of the Holy Spirit. I mean, you were the one who said it. Remark that it must have been very shoddily built, comment that at least there's no risk of rain, congratulate him on his luck that no one was hurt. Jokes. We got jokes. The weather is more forgiving than it used to be. And no risk of the altar cloths being sun damaged either. I wouldn't mind being able to keep out the bats. I don't know, if the bats are that big, the roof's not going to matter, I feel. It was good of you to stop in. Lord, see you safely home again. Well, I think we've been dismissed. Just manage another errand. Theophilus, fearing predators, fighting a flying creature. God, there's so much. We've just started this game and I already feel like there's a bewildering amount of story crafting we can do. We should probably give this story what we have crafted to Archie. I should maybe lose the badge while I'm spreading rumours about the Masters. Let's go back to Drama Badge. And just regular person clothes. Archie holds my eye for a little longer than usual. A reminder perhaps of our shared pursuit, or that he just really knows you want to jump in. express relief and surprise at his continued survival. That's how I like to start conversations with people. Jesus God, you're still alive. What a relief to see you. You live and breathe another day. One is constantly afraid one's acquaintances have been snatched by something large with talons and wings. Well, I am now. I've not lost a patient today. There's no one raving and in need of confinement, so I'll count that to the good. Do you meet a lot of patients like that? Aye, more than a few. It's the dreams that does it. They've been dreaming they've been buried alive, often as not. There's a great run of that dream at the present. Is that because we've all been buried alive? If you see folk heading off to the graveyard with shovels and pickaxes, that'll be what they're about, like enough. Wait, are people really digging up graves? There's really a great deal of digging up graves. Aye. They put the dead back after. And then sometimes go to dig them out again the next morning. Raise the question of Page's intentions. What do you think Mr. Page's intends for London? That's what I hoped you might suss out. You formed the question on the board. Now it's a matter of asking someone that might know. I wouldn't put too much money on what answer you get from Grizz. There's a brief lull in the conversation. Oh, right, so I need more information before I can hand it in. Okay. Do we just go for it? Do we just go for it? Do we just go for it? Bad ideas. You're standing awfully close. Achievement Forger of Bonds. Back in Scotland, a person might take it as an amorous advance, standing so close. London man is, of course, he might just be practicing for the omnibus. I'd reckon stretch, good point, given that we, are in the first hours, apparently. I can't resist the sass option. You're toying with me. He leans in the rest of the way to meet me. Archie kisses as though I might be the thing that saves him. As though this might be an experimental cure. Ask how he's feeling, don't commit myself. I mean, that seems like a weird dichotomy. What would you say were the effects of that trial? A success? Is the patient improved? Ah, well, the first dose had a notable effect. Okay, but that's a great line. Which one? But you know it's always best to follow a regimen. Doses on successive days and plenty of observation. Kisses as though it might be the thing that saves him. Yeah. It's almost like there are really good writers involved in these games. We stay like this for a long time until the other people moving around the house make us too self-conscious. Well, dinner, I guess. There are a few minutes of preparation. Probably straightening my hair. Eat up, Archie. Aren't you always warning us about lack of nutrition? Ugh, I'm sorry, Horatio. You've cooked it as well as anyone could do. No need to tell me that. What are you brooding on, then? It's thinking of my mother. If she thinks I was killed, it'll be terrible for her heart. Invent a comforting theory? Reassure him, point out the good he's doing here. Yeah, lies. I've heard rumours that the surface knows exactly where we went. In fact, I'm told there's a rescue operation being prepared. Jesus Christ, we went hard on the lies immediately. By a special team of German engineers, I've no doubt. Thank you, Sarah. Say I get out of this hole in the ground at last and all the way back up to Glasgow and find she's passed her grief before I got there. Positively Greek. I've told you before, you should ask Grizz to help you. Ask me for what? I've told you before, I can't set off the masters. They can't be doing the little favours here and there and everywhere. Do you know how many people live in London? No, my duck, I don't. Nor do you either, or you wouldn't need this census. Wow, the sass. My mother begged me not to come all the way to London. She said I could study just as well in Glasgow. Or if I had to go away, then no further than Edinburgh. There's plenty of physicians there, training. It was me that chose to put the distance. Go straight for the hug or ask why? Well, I always say hug somebody who's chill with it, and I feel like he will be. I embrace Archie. Archie touches my shoulder. No one speaks for a moment. Just a little moment of human connection. I chew diligently, presumably after I've broken the hug, or I'm not just eating his arm. When they got hungry, people turned inventive. All the pigeons around St. Paul's they caught and plucked. More than one society lapdog was turned to stew. Dinner reaches an end. It's really interesting getting this kind of view of London around the fall. Because this is like decades before Fallen London is set, like 30 odd years. And by then, there's a strong sense of just kind of acceptance and dealing with it, and well, this is just the way things are. And as a result, you don't see the weird things as weird so much, because everybody, at least at first, just accepts them as normal. But here, it's very much people from the real world experiencing the Neath and going, wait a minute. This, you know, the fall was legitimately a citywide disaster. Don't know why I keep reviewing the day. I don't learn anything from it. Oh yes, I have two different things of missed pages, so I did mapping because the floor of the Neath would shift and people rebelled against these commands and knew that London was threatened by many monstrous things and did a thing. Ah yes, and we have these other people as well now. David Landau. Loved Charlotte before she became Lady Carringham. Oh, right, yes, that's who the Carringhams are. Rachel, adorable fan. I want to win her heart, but I need to pick moments when she's in the right mood. Might or might not be infatuated with the devil. But really, whomst among us? Three days remain in the season of confessions. Another morning, another newspaper. This morning's lies open on the table. Her Majesty's palace shuttered. Royal family remains unreachable. I should find more people to censusify. But first I should have a flashback. Start all your mornings with a flashback. That's how you know you have PTSD. Sad but true. I reach for another memory out of that jumbled grab bag. Things, baby things, impossible things. Archie searches books for some President, Constable Harden checked us. I glimpsed something in a bit of mirror. We can just get Finger Kings in here now. I'm doing that. Pounds clipboard, parabola, parabola, parabola. And again, if you don't know Fallen London lore, this probably means nothing, but... yeah, I know I said at the start I wasn't going to spoil bits of Fallen London lore, but on the other hand, they live in my mind... she says with wild excitement. Yeah, this will mean nothing to any of you, and that's great. But yeah, no, I said I wouldn't spoil Fallen London lore, but to be honest, so much of it just lives rent-free in my head at all times, it's hard not to. In a mirror, I saw something that wasn't my reflection. A woman who might have been Chinese, though I could not be sure. She sat at a desk in a flooding palace, and the milky water had come level with her knee. She wrote in haste. Her hands were gory with ink. Ink stained and dimmed the Firebirds embroidered on her sleeve. A glimpse of me goaded her, the ink bottle upset. Blue-black bloomed in the floodwater. Well, that's some imagery. Huh. Okay. So yes, I can go and hand in some forms and get paid. I still need to census Horatia. Or I could just wander the market and find people to fill the census. Sure, why not? Let's get some people we don't know. I don't know why I'm not interviewing Horatia. I should really do that. Hard to guess what outfit will best go over. Let's... We're going to the market. Let's go into... like, official service mode. Wow. That's a look. Ah. Call me Ivy. Okay. Hi, Ivy. Ministry? The Ministry of Accounting and Recounting have asked me to work on the census. I see. Your full name? What's your full name? Ivy Fitzclarret. It's what passed for a joke with my mum. Oh, the claret? I mean, I get the joke, because Fitz somebody is the illegitimate son of, and so this is the illegitimate child of her mother and too much wine, I'm assuming. No, the claret, I guess. I take it a good bottle of wine contributed to your existence. Cool, we could maybe have phrased that more delicately. I don't know about good, but at least a middling one, and plenty of it. My mum reckoned when I got old enough I could pick a lie that'd suit me. As long as you live with me, you'll be known for a tard's daughter, no point hiding it. Take an interest in her mum? So, you mentioned your mum was a sex worker. Just laugh. Laugh politely. I laugh with a little undertone of darkness, as I do. I see you'd get on with her. Well, the question of her future? A little bit heavy. Are you going to change your name someday? Oh yes, but not until I have enough saved to move my shop to Ladybones. Mademoiselle Laire de Bordeaux, I'm planning to call myself. That's the same joke. That's the same joke. That's the same joke. It just means Ivy of Wine. All the fashions of Paris, but darker and more marvellous. Her voice shifts up market suddenly, her pronunciation almost as proper as Grizz's. Well, that's not how I've been voicing either of them, to be honest. I can sound elegant, but I didn't learn my manners at a finishing school. I worked in the back room of the dressmaker's shop until I was good enough to put in front. Found my way into genteel parlours and didn't let myself be kicked out of them again. Not 1 in 20 of the ladies I dress could do what I've done. I don't know, this seems like a good chance to flirt. Is there anyone living with you at the moment? I live back at my mum's place when I'm not working in. She's good company unless she's got guests of her own, in which case I stay out late. What happened to flirt? Is there anyone special in your life, Ivy? There's been a few warm encounters. I'm not blessed virgin, am I? I don't want child nor man sponging off me. One thing about being raised by an old sloop of war. She taught me how to keep unencumbered. Silence falls. We could be flirting more, I feel. After that story, flirting with Ivy seemed, yes, agreed. Any amusing affairs of late, Ivy? There's one thing that happened recently, and I don't mind telling you. As it needs telling to someone, or it won't stop living inside my head. That is to say, I met a certain young man that seemed a good enough bed for the evening. Has his teeth, has his hair. Missing one toe on his left foot, but he's wearing shoes, and no one's counting his toes anyway, the kind of thing I have in mind. So we have our drinks, and the evening is progressing onward, when he starts telling me what he'd like to get up to. Carry on, please. By all means. Go on, you have me curious now. What could possibly be a shock to Ivy Fitzclarret that grew up at her mother's knee? I wouldn't say I was shocked. It takes a lot to shock me. But it wasn't what I had a taste for, either. What starts him off is imagining he's being ate by a spider. Of all the places I expected this to go, Vor wasn't it. He wants me to wrap him up tight like a bundle in silk. And crawl all over him, whispering, what can I call it, spider threats. About paralyzing him, draining out his vital juices. So I say no, that's a specialist activity, and most ladies who do that for him might need paying. Unless he finds one with interests that go with his, which... London is a large city, but it might not be that large. And then I also mentioned how I had to place a bet. I would bet spiders don't tell you what they're going to eat. Even down here. And that put him right off me, I tell you. Yeah, I'm, not exclusively into Spider-4. I promise that I never want to indulge in any such thing. In fact, the fewer spiders in such a situation, the better. Again, that's a sweeping statement. They can tickle on bare skin. Not in a pleasing way. Ah well, job her own for me. What an intriguing person. It's time to run another errand today. Ivy and thought poorly of gentlemen. Big mood. We no longer... Top of Rome, it's... I mean, it is... I can't remember the exact derivation. It's just a way of saying I'm off. It's very kind of Victorian Cockney, and nowhere near as posh as I was making her sound, although I quite liked the idea that she was talking Cockney in a very posh way. See, now you've started asking me about linguistics, and I need to actually look it up. No, I don't want to know what the highest point of Rome is. Google. Why would you think that? Oh no, your wildly circuitous plan worked. Well, yeah, you know me. Green's Dictionary of Slang. upstairs. Oh my god, yeah, I'm an idiot. It's literally just Cockney rhyming slang. Top of Rome, home. Of course. God, you're gonna make me remember. Wait, voicing her like that is just gonna turn into the far show We're Cockneys sketch. But yeah. Yeah, so it's just home. Get used to some Cockney rhyming slang, apparently. Anyway, I should actually do this other census. Because I need to get 7, and I'm not sure I know 7 people that I haven't already interviewed. Horatio won't mind me in this. Okay, cool. Love not being manned. I find Horatio in the basement taking inventory of our supplies. She does this a lot. I'm indebted to Horatio. Since the fall, I haven't always had the funds to pay for my room and board. She provided it for me anyway. I mean, I'll get the funds when I get paid for all these pages I'm collecting. If there's anything to eat, I'm always welcome to join the other lodgers. She's never said a word in front of the other guests. It probably means they're also behind on rent. Hello? I hope you've not grown too sick of mushrooms? Explain that it's sufficient. No, apologise. I'm sorry for the interruption. But I've been sent to ask a few questions of the citizens of London. Or those who survived, at any rate. I'm not sure what the masters have in mind. Nonetheless, it would be a help. I see. Simply ask whether she had many suitors when she was younger. I mean, if she's watching the supplies this closely, yeah, money's tight. Yeah. I mean, and also, we're literally in a disaster area. Supplies are hard to come by. Yeah, but, you know, if I've ever met a landlady, this is the kind of thing they like to just spend hours talking about. Do you have many suitors when you were younger? The butcher at the corner asked me a few times to be his wife. I couldn't say I was tempted. He had 7 children from his marriage before. I believe he's more attracted to the extra rooms in my house than to me. There's a woman who comes to the door just about every morning. Too many children and not enough food. Sometimes I have a penny or some old stew for her. I'm not getting involved in this story. We'll just carry on. And this morning? I sat by the fire and didn't go to answer it. After a time, she stopped knocking and just stood sobbing on the doorstep. Suggest a better approach, tell her off, say it wasn't really better before. Wow. Grim. But true. Yeah, we're beggars even before February. True, but there were reformers, workhouses, the parish. I do not particularly want to flirt with Horatio, I'll be real. Simply ask whether she does anything else. You don't have any secret business besides running the household, do you? The house has been my business a long time now. My father left it to me. He bought it so I'd have a good place to live. He didn't want to leave it up to whether I'd find a husband. There's a stew in the kitchen that needs looking after. Horatio and I should be friends. I agree. It isn't long until dinner is served. Yeah, flirting with your landlady, probably a bad idea. We will change for dinner. I'm not going to be having dinner in an official capacity. I don't know where the others have got to. They do know when supper is served. Good evening. I'm looking for Archibald. Is he here? Archie? He's upstairs. Listen. Yes. I know all the old maps have been outlawed. But if you've come for his atlas, do you think you could leave it with him? Gives him a lot of comfort remembering all those little villages in Scotland where his family used to live. Yeah. Yeah, leave Archie his maps. He's not doing any harm with them. That isn't why I'm here. Well, now I'm interested. Oh? Is it to do with his doctrine? I hope no one's too ill. I know Archie worries trying to do a physician's work when he didn't finish his training. Does he often treat people? As your lawyer. Yeah, let's extenuating circumstances. He treats a lot of things. Broken bones, stomach complaints, nightmares. There was even some business with a tainted jar of honey, he said. Ah, that'll end badly. Archie's had plenty to keep him occupied. He hasn't happened to treat a tall young man that had lost his memory. No one like that. Have you ever known Archie to make mistakes, prescribe the wrong dosages? How would I know? I'm not in any position to say. No, I suppose not. Of course, Archie chooses this moment to come down the stairs. Don't talk to cops. Harjit, I hope you're well. I'm sorry, Archibald. I'm here in the line of duty. It's about David Landau. Something happened to him. I only saw him today. Shortly after your visit, he died by poisoning. Well, this has escalated. Died? The poor man. React with shock, pain, or don't react. I am shocked. What? I saw him very recently. Yeah, people... This just in. People are alive until they are dead. May he rest peacefully. I'm sorry to have to bring you this news. Is Rachel all right? Is there anyone with her to protect the house? She said you were the last person to speak with David. That the fatal dose must have come from you. I don't understand. There was an inquest, and the jury found against you. I'm here to arrest you for murder. Wait a moment. I knew it was just time till someone went awry. There's too many folks ill. I'm kind of cured of the whole town. Ask for a moment's semi-private conversation. Speak up for him. Ask if Rachel's all right. Kiss Archie goodbye. As this man's lawyer, which I am? Question mark. Can I ask Archie something just for a moment? As long as you stay in sight. Tell him I love him. Quickly check he didn't do this. Assure him he's not alone. Just to make sure, you know. I'm sorry to ask, but you didn't do this, surely. Yeah, how can you ask me that? Not even by accident? No. Granted, it was not the same thing I'd been giving him the days previous. Before I had him on my own special medicine, but the bottle ran out and I had none new, so I gave him a common patent dose. I tell you, there's nothing wrong with it. Just a baby with the same bottle. It was hot as a new lamb the next day. I'm not sure we do love him, so I'm not going to say that. Just, he's not alone in this. You're not alone. We're all on your side and we'll come visit you until you're free. Well, again, we're committing to things very hard there. Thank you. Ask if Rachel's alright, I guess, because she's looking suspicious as hell. How's Rachel doing? Does she have anyone with her? There's her housekeeper, Phoebe, and some friends from her community. Now, is that community writers, queer people, or both? I mean, to be fair, the Venn diagrams are very close. They're preparing the body for burial. It can't be left unburied very long. Where is burial? Where are they burying him? They mean to take him to a Jewish graveyard at Ball's Pond. That's a deeply unfortunate name. I'm sorry, I'm a child, but let's be real, it is. Rachel said there might be a dispute with their Spanish relatives, that their mother was buried somewhere else. Oh, they're Sephardim. That's cool. Again, that's not a group you massively see represented and stuff. It's always neat. But she did not think it would change the outcome. But where take Archie? Are you taking Archie? Newgate prison was destroyed in the fall. For the time being, prisoners are being held in the HMS Ungulate. That sure is a name for a ship. Sounds like a very insalubrious environment. Cold, damp, infested with vermin. Or even the vapours of the Thames. Might not be good for the health of the prisoners. You're not talking your way out that way. No, I mean, if you don't mind, before we set out, I'd like to collect a few doses of this and that. I mean, you're literally being arrested for presumed poisoning. I very much doubt they're going to let you go and collect more drugs. Things that might help to settle bad lungs and prolong coughs. You're asking whether before we go you can be allowed to rearrange your collection of drugs. And bring some of those drugs with you. That isn't quite how I'd have phrased it. When you stand accused of murdering a man through the use of potent toxins. Oh. For the sake of your future guards and cellmates, I think I must refuse. We should probably say something. Well, this must be a misunderstanding. Archie's dedicated to keeping people alive, and I don't see him having the nerve to hurt anyone. Not on purpose. No one can measure another person's courage just by looking. Yeah, let's not kiss him goodbye in front of the cops. That seems like a bad plan. Horatio, I'll be back as soon as I can. Don't let out my room to anyone else. We won't. Don't fret. We'll get to the bottom of it. Maybe Grizz's eye place friends at the ministry will come in handy. It'd be a good thing if they did. There's still dinner on the table, but Horatio doesn't have much appetite. Well, it's a good thing we got David censused, I guess. HMS Ungulate. Foreboding former warship converted into a brooding prison hulk. I keep thinking that's the Ubisoft logo. I mean, you can't really see the loading thing behind me, but it looks quite like the Ubisoft logo. To bed! Treated David Landau and circumstance. Tainted drug. Tainted drug. For a moment after waking, I forget what happened last night. Then it comes back to me, the sight of Archie being taken away. Horatio staring at a plate of uneaten pie. The rest of the evening, strange as it was, and then stumbling back to my own bed. Hydrate and stretch, you are correct. There's no mention of Archie's arrest in the morning's newspaper. I don't believe he did it. I can't leave him to rot whether he did it or not, or it wouldn't shock me. I don't believe in carceral justice in any case, so Loyalty is more than law. I wouldn't necessarily put it that way. More than the claim put on us by strangers. The only question is what force or persuasion or trickery will put an end to this matter. What we need is a prison break, I have the beginnings of influence in government, or devils are supposed to be good advocates. Are they? I mean, this sounds interesting. Perhaps the influence of hell could bend the course of this investigation. Find someone powerful enough to intervene. This may be a distracting business. Doubt I'll be able to gather funds. Have no intention of bringing Archie any more exposés. The demands of Mr. Pages will have to wait. Or I will keep doing everything. Keep doing everything. If you ever think you're doing too many things, you know what the trick for that is? Do more things until you stop thinking that. Disclaimer. This is a bad idea. And yet, it's my life. Let's have a flashback. Time is it? Yeah, I need to keep an eye on the time. I can't run this stream too late, because once again, I have things to go and win at. I reach for another memory. Things I remember, possible things, that kind of thing. Archie searching his books, Constable Hargett checked on us all. There was a stranger across the way. Because as the post goes, we delve into the classic questions of horror fiction, such as, what if there was a weird man? Searching his books for some precedent sounds interesting. I'm surprised at you trying to read in this light, Archie. He held up the volume he was perusing. I thought I remembered there was a bit about the Welsh tornado here. I was not wrong. Makes an elevating change from your usual reading about Medici poisoners, I suppose. She'd caught him a day or so before reading a history of toxins over the supper table. That could have been mentioned in relation to his case, just thinking. This has been the subject of quite a few jests since. What's wrong, pray? Trying for a wee bit of knowledge as a druggist? Sole dose is facet venerum, as the books say. Nothing's a poison unless you give the wrong amount. Experimented with drugs. That didn't go in the direction I expected it to, but hey, now we know how to think about experimenting with drugs. Do we have more story slots? No. Because, yeah, we still have two people to... We need to interview two more people. I don't think we have any. Oh, we still technically haven't censused Grizz, even though we did it as kind of her warm-up. And if I did want to see about getting a devil, surely Rachel would be the connect there. Well, we have a census button, let's push it. So, yeah, I should probably be in work mode. I'm sure she will appreciate that. Grizz always likes the sight of the badge. Good. I thought you might still be in the house. Mr. Pages is not an early riser. In fact, he was very put out when he came to the ministry in the morning. I thought I might finish your census form. Mr. Pages already knows all about me. I would have thought it was a better use of time to ask anyone else. But I suppose for completeness we might as well. Just ask about her commitments. The ministry would like to know about any betrothals, marriages, or affairs of passion. Are there any in your past? Please, be thorough. This is for posterity. I was engaged once. The gentleman wanted a gracious hostess and a mother to his heirs. A very eligible alliance according to my parents. Sympathize. I am sorry. I have no regrets. I found my way to the ministry. I would not have come to the attention of Mr. Pages if I was still addressing invitations in my mother's sitting room. How did you break it off? So you ended the engagement? I left both the gentleman and my family. That is when I came to Horatius. Even before the fall, Mrs. Chapman's boarding house attracted those that didn't belong anywhere else. A lady like Grizz could not have lived alone at most respectable establishments, and she would scarcely have cared for the cheaper common lodging places. I mean, I feel like I know what the answer to this question will be, which is, she didn't. Why did you accept the proposal in the first place, then? I could have set him on a political life. She looks as though she might say more, but she thinks better of it. The conversation turns to personal matters and things we still don't know about one another. If you could be rid of one danger from all the dangers Denise holds, which would you strike out? Eaten by beasts, the danger of melancholia, or removing a trouble would introduce another? Yeah, the Jason Mendoza approach. We got rid of one problem from beneath, and all of a sudden we had exciting new problems. I don't dare make a wish like that. Whenever one trouble's removed, some other one is bound to crop up. An unfortunately cogent point. Do you suppose the fall was caused by someone who dislikes sunburn? Ask about her family, her child. Ooh, these sound like they're going to go badly. Childhood? She tells me about her life as a child, the estate where she grew up, the horses and the tenant farmers. Then the railway came, a loud, dirty thing that ran too close to their land for her mother's tastes. That bred arguments in the household, with her uncle staunchly supporting the advance of progress. It's hard to tell from the story exactly how old Grizz was when this happened. In her narrative, it sounds sometimes as though she was a child listening at keyholes, and sometimes a girl almost out of the schoolroom who had no patience for anything her mother might ever say. But somewhere in that compound of memories is the source of Grizz the politician, or Grizz the civil servant. If you want company, you know, you're always welcome to pay a call, if we can use the term. Morning calls in our own parlour. It's not quite clear who should leave their card with whom. All the same, I welcome companionship. Yeah. I would like that. You seem interesting. I was used to a townhouse full of family and servants before I came here, and guests to dinner most nights of the week. The season would be starting now or thereabout. Of course, Of course, no one now can come up from their estates. Joke about social calls on people in one's own house, comment on the decreasing number of people in London, or just say you look forward to it. Jokes, jokes, jokes. Now, which of us would pour the tea for the other? Considering that the only tea we've had in the house for weeks has a decided odour of mould, I believe I will forgo that dubious pleasure. We'll have to find some other suitable entertainment. Not sure whether that last line was meant to sound flirty, but apparently I made it flirty. I just have time for another errand today. Well, that's all well and good for you, character in-game. I say that as though you don't have a name, Sarah. But I do not have time for another errand today, because I have places to be. I mean, literally, physically the places to be are here, but other things to do here. So, I think it's time for the wrap-up. I'm digging this a lot. It's such an interesting new take on the setting. And it's interesting seeing kind of more details than we normally have. Because it's normally on kind of a broader view. This is cool. This is cool. I'm enjoying this no end. Unsurprisingly. Yeah. But we should do the wrap-up. Thank you all for coming. Thanks if you stayed to the end. It means a lot. If you've been watching, you know where to find me, but just in case, this is twitch.tv/Serasent, that's SERASENT, the House of Hubris, streaming here every Tuesday, Thursday, and Saturday at 2 PM British time, that is 9 AM Eastern, 6 Pacific. Other time zones are available, do the maths. Or hey, if you don't want to do the maths, why not throw us a follow? Doesn't cost you anything, it gets you notified whenever I'm around. If you do miss anything, VODs are on Twitch for 8 weeks after the fact. For everything else, you can go to the YouTube. Link is down there. It says YouTube or VOD archive or videos live here. I don't know. Something relevant. Or it's youtube.com/@House of where you can find everything going back to the very start of the channel, which is 2.5 years now, which is wild to me. Almost exactly. Yeah. There's new stuff going up every Tuesday, Thursday, and Saturday, so why not throw us a subscription while you're there? Again, doesn't cost you anything and gets you hot, fresh VODs in your subscription feed 3 times a week. Currently, it's still uploading Hobbs Barrow, I think? But it is uploading again. It is happening. Progress being made. Yeah, so check that out. There's lots of games there, so there'll probably be something to your taste, and if not, let me know what would be, and we may get to it eventually. I make no promises. If you feel like supporting me being a Victorian trans-lesbian disaster, well, trans-bisexual disaster, let's be real, monetarily, then while you can't send me hot pennies with a correspondence sigil on them, or I guess you could, but I don't recommend you do. Instead, you could cheer or subscribe on Twitch. But yeah, as ever, very much not required. Just turn up and hang out and be chill and be good to each other, and then everyone's having a good time. What else? If you want to find me elsewhere on the internet, best place to look is Twitter. Again, link down there. This one says Twitter. Admit sleep is good? Yes, sleep is good, and you know, my relationship with it is becoming slowly less fractious. Thanks for asking. Yeah. Yeah, so check out the Twitter, which has the unfortunate side effect of being a Twitter, but it's where you get memes and selfies and random posting from me, and stream notifications, and all of those good things one uses a Twitter for. Also, I use it for shouting at people who have strong opinions about me being on television. I think that's everything? Yes. So, once again, thank you everyone who's been here for our first day back in Fallen London. Thanks, yeah. See you again on Tuesday for more of this. Love you all. Take care of yourselves out there. Bye.